This is episode 96, folks.
Welcome to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Ultimate Deck Podcast. Helping you keep your finger firmly pressed on the decking industry, the people in it, and the information you need to master the backyard. And now, host of the Ultimate Deck Podcast, Shane Chapman.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Deck Podcast, episode 96.
It's a big number.
Yeah, we're getting awfully close to that centurion mark.
100. 100.
We started this a little bit later than we wanted to for a variety of reasons, but one of which was we had to get a big political discussion out of the way before we hit the record button between Bryce and I here.
We were almost ready to start.
I'm not sure I'm ready to let it go yet, but I'm sure fired up now. And
You are fired
up, yet physically tired now. I feel emotionally drained.
Yes, because you hate politics.
I just, there's not a whole lot I like about it.
Wade's not here.
I don't care what stripe they are. They're all shitty.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it nowadays, is that they're all shitty. But anyways, I thought we could chat a little bit about the state of, so there's politics in Canada and then there's politics in the U.S. And they're both equally as frustrating, but
they're the same.
The U.S. it's pretty wild down there right now. They're a little bit closer to their election though, right? So it's a little bit more fired up and there's a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, they're ready to say anything.
Right. But I find it funny that we're now we're lynching somebody for a haircut down there.
Yeah.
Right now, which I think that's good.
That's good. That's where we're at in politics today.
That's where we're
Let's lynch you for your haircut.
really taking care of priorities down there.
Yeah, exactly, right?
But that said, she should be lynched for her haircut.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Oh God. It's just it's such a hypocritical move.
Haircut? It's a hypocritical haircut?
From the lady who stands on the podium the most, trying to keep everybody under control, to then go do exactly what she's telling you right not to do. Anyway, Nancy Pelosi.
I want to see it.
She's crazy too. They're all crazy.
What you got?
I don't know.
How was your week?
Bryce, we got biggest debates in the industry is what we're going to talk about when we get to it.
Debates.
We got some fun ones coming up, though, I think. We've thrown some ideas around for some podcasts coming up that I'm looking forward to doing because it'll be more fun.
Let's get some life into
some
this.
end-of-season lighthearted stuff.
Lighthearted.
So what do I got going on? I don't know. Things have really slowed down here in the last couple of weeks. So, and double that with my family being out of town right now means I've been working some late nights and getting some stuff done.
Oh.
I would be lying if I said I'm completely productive between 5:30 when everybody leaves and 10 when I go home, but I get a few things done in there.
Extra stuff done.
And I get a lot of TikToking done in there too.
Right, exactly.
Speaking of which, TikTok.
TikTok.
It's supposed to be banned.
I saw a commercial for TikTok on TV.
On the TV?
On the TV.
Get out.
It was crazy. It was just a bunch of videos, like watching TikTok, but it was on TV. Steve Aoki.
Strange.
Old grandmas doing dances.
I always find that weird when new medias use old medias to promote themselves. I guess it makes sense though. You're trying to transition people away from one media to the next. But so this comes up fairly frequently for us because this is my job at the Ultimate Deck Shop here is I manage the marketing and what we spend money on and whatever. And I've got my opinions about what medias work and don't, whatever. And Wade's 85, so he still thinks that magazines and newspapers are the best way to go about this whole thing. So he's always pushing me about radio.
Let's hand out flyers.
Yeah. My point, my stance in this whole thing is that everything works.
Yeah.
Everything works.
I agree.
Just how well does it work and how expensive is it? That's the trick. It's not that there's any media that's dead.
No, not at all.
Right?
It's who's your target though, right?
Right. So can radio work? Yeah, radio works.
Yep.
Does TV work? Yeah, TV also works.
TV works.
Social works. Print works. Print works too, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just how much does it cost to make it work?
Could be a lot.
Could be tons. So it's not that funny that TikTok's promoting on TV, I guess. I just think it's unnecessary. People are already
I think it's like a
I can
political play for them though. You know what I mean? Like Let's
maybe
boost our social image so people don't think we're stealing all of their data.
Could be. I just doubt that there's anybody that's sitting watching TV that doesn't have the app already that then sees the commercial and is like, now's the time.
Getting on TikTok.
NBC said
That's right.
that I should own a slap chop and a TikTok.
Oh, yeah. What if you use them together?
If you made a TikTok with a slap chop, now we're talking.
Now we're TikTok. Slap talk.
Slap talk. Yeah. So anyways, we were sitting here trying to think like, what do we fill the first? We always have this monologue at the start.
It's a monologue.
Is it a monologue?
It's sometimes. Depends.
And we were trying to think like, what's happening in the world today we can talk about before we get into this. And like, it was just...
It was so dreary.
Cities burning, people dying, and COVID everywhere. It's like, this is...
School's back.
Oh my God.
School's back. Let's make all our kids wear masks.
Right? How do you feel about that?
I'm not a super big fan, but...
God,
I'll do it.
Yeah, my 13-year-old's going back.
Yeah. They have to go back. They have to go back. That's the important thing, in my opinion.
They got to go back. Like, listen, here...
You want to get into that?
You'd be crazy to not go back here.
Yes.
Like, you can't have less cases than what we have right now in Regina.
We have zero.
Is the one guy healed? There was one
healed.
guy.
He's
good
healed.
now? Okay, so we have 0 confirmed cases. Of course, that doesn't mean there's 0 cases in Regina.
No.
I'm sure there's a handful of people floating out there with COVID.
I mean, we probably have it.
Probably, but that's okay. But how when there's 0 confirmed cases, which means that there are 0 people sick enough to want to go get tested for it.
Exactly.
Then how do you justify shutting anything down at this point?
They
people,
did.
Like, there's obviously some people that are losing their shit over like, I'm not sending my kids back. Then when are you?
Exactly. When does it stop? When does the
If
fear
0
stop?
isn't the number for you, what is?
Oh, they just keep moving the goalpost, man.
Right?
All the time. There's nothing we could do in terms of COVID to fix it. We scared people.
And it ain't going away. That's the thing. So like,
No,
if people these people that are fighting that they don't want their kids to go back to school, I'm talking again in Regina because this is the safest place ever.
Yes.
Right now with this whole thing. If they don't want them to go back now, at 0, like I don't know what their end goal, what the end looks like for them, because this isn't. I think it's pretty well established. This is not going away. There's no like day where it's like it's been eradicated in the world.
December 25th, 2020.
So either in your current emotional position either means you are going to forever homeschool them or not.
Exactly. And I could tell you, I love my kid. I do not want to homeschool her.
You wouldn't love her anymore. That's why teachers get paid.
That's right.
So anyway, I think it's bloody silly. Like, they're gonna have to go out to school. Is it gonna result in a big surge in cases? I don't think so. Is it gonna result in some new cases? Yeah, there's gonna be a few.
Yeah.
Does it mean we go from 0 to 6,000 in a month? Nope. I don't think so.
Then we'd have a problem.
So anyway, back to school is around the corner. It's Tuesday here is when things start after this weekend. And this weekend here is Labor Day, which is a Canadian holiday.
Yeah. What is Labor Day? Do you know? Because I have no idea.
Like, what's behind the day? It's the labor movement. It's it's unions are behind it.
Unions.
I laugh, but I actually think it's a holiday for the labor movement, that's kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. It's a holiday.
Yay for working and jobs.
But it's a holiday for...
Have a day off.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Don't work on that day though.
But why don't you wear white after Labor Day?
Oh, that I don't know.
What's that from?
I don't know what the hell that's about. Is that a religious thing?
Is that a religious thing?
I feel like that's a religious thing.
I don't think it is, though.
Well, you can't wear white after... What is it? You can't wear white after... What? There's a religious thing about wearing white, isn't there?
Your wedding?
Fine, you don't eat meat after Easter, and then you also can't wear white,
yeah,
I think.
That's Lent.
Yeah.
I don't think that's white, though.
But does that have to do with just getting meat stains on your white clothes?
Oh, yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get the juice drippings everywhere.
I assumed.
It's barbecue season.
That's why you can't wear white.
That's why you can't wear white.
Tailgating in football happens in September.
Oh yeah.
So don't wear white. It's just.
Did you hear?
It's not anything important. It's just a suggestion that you shouldn't wear white clothes when you're barbecuing.
Yeah, when you're dripping stuff all over you. John Ryan's trying out for an NFL team.
The whole CFL is.
I know.
Is he actually have tryouts though?
Yeah, he's got tryouts.
So I just read the other day that 90. I read this morning. 90 CFL players have opted out of their contracts to go take cracks at the NFL right now.
No.
So 90. It's like
obviously
2 teams.
Yes,
2 teams worth.
Everybody. Like I don't know.
But why wouldn't you at this point? Like for our American friends who don't give 2 shites about what we're talking about here right now, the CFL, but they should. There's probably a lot of names in CFL they recognize from college football and whatnot. There's some good football being played in Canada. But the reason for this all is the CFL had to cancel its season because of COVID, but they took a long time to make that decision.
Way too long.
It just happened like 2 weeks ago. They drug it on, tried to find some way to play out the rest of the season in a bubble. And in the end, it ended up all falling apart. Season got canceled. So I believe probably just as more goodwill than anything, the CFL said, okay, you know what, because this opportunity to play and make money is gone for this year now, we are going to allow our players, if they have legitimate NFL opportunities, to opt out of their contracts to go take a shot at the NFL. And then you can, if you don't make it, you can return for the 2021 season. And it's there's an exodus. 90 players have opted out and have NFL aspirations.
Do we even have a league next year?
Yeah, who knows? Like, you probably have a pretty good shot by next year.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what we should do.
So the Rough Riders have lost both kickers. John Ryan and Brett Lowther have both opted out of their contracts and are both having NFL opportunities, and so we may not have any kickers. You could kick next year, Bryce.
Kick. That should be the story. The Rudy.
Yeah, or Invincible.
Oh yeah,
I
Invincible.
like that one, right?
Yeah.
That'd be good. Anyways, good luck to all the CFL players trying to make the NFL.
Good luck.
Have you been watching basketball?
I haven't.
Do you ever watch basketball?
Not usually.
Not usually? Okay.
But
did you see the Raptors the other day? They've
been doing really good, right?
Well, they swept the first series, but they were down 2-0.
And then
against Boston the first 2 games, and the third game they were down 3-0. The game was over.
It was over.
They let some shit happen. They were down by 2 with 0.5 seconds left, and Kyle Lowry makes this unbelievable pass that, had it been off anywhere else, would have, I'm sure the buzzer would have went off for OG.
Yeah.
Anunoby got rid of the ball, but he gets the shot off quickly and nails a 3-pointer for the win as the buzzer goes as the ball leaves his hand. Pretty crazy.
Amazing.
And the cool part about it was, that was not the design play. Literally the 4 other options expired, were not there, and all of a sudden OG opens up and Lowry sees him and passes a cross court pass right into where the ball has to be, so he can almost catch it in motion. He's
shooting already
while he gets the ball, so he doesn't run out of time. Pretty crazy. So now the series is at 2-1. Raptors are still in trouble.
Of course they are.
We got a podcast idea from Precision here. It says we should do some tool reviews, like saw blades, best products, blah blah blah. I think that would be a great option, but I'm in no position to give you that feedback because I would have to have all those things sent to us and we'd have to try them and see. I'm willing to do it. If we are able to get our hands on some saw blades and tools and try them all, because I'm a few years removed from using the tools myself.
I mean, the only thing you could really speak to right now is Trex.
Trex saws! But as far as brands though, I only ever own the Makita. So if you people ask me all the time, what do you recommend, the Makita, the DeWalt, or the Festool? And I'm like, all I can tell you is that the Makita was the cheapest of the 3 and I loved it and I had no issues with it. So
that's the one I see the most of.
Yeah, it's the most affordable one. But I would go battery. My only complaint about my track saw ever was dragging a cord behind, or sometimes in the middle of a cut and your cord gets snagged in something and it stops you in your track. That was frustrating. So I would go cordless. What are we doing? This is part of...
Yeah, I know. You just kept going.
It's on here. Let's stop that and start this. Just so you know, Mom, I'm working on something very, very big. Very important. You're going to be very proud. It's the worldly news. God, I hope you found something more interesting than what's in the mainstream media these days.
Bad news or good news first?
I don't care. No, yes I do. Start with bad, end with good. Because you've been dicking us last few weeks with the bad news ones at the end, and it's just like sets the tone for the rest of the podcast.
Wife bites off husband's penis after he refuses to get rat out of bedroom.
Hold on. How is that? When is this article from? How?
September 3rd, 2020.
Okay. Here, this is all fresh information for me, but I've got a lot of opinions about this already. Why did you? How hard did you have to dig for that? Where did you have to go?
Not for mirror.co.uk.
Remember when Lorena Bobbitt cut off her husband's penis? It was like worldwide news.
Yeah.
She became a celebrity. His penis became a celebrity.
Yeah.
Everybody knew about it. This lady bites off her husband's penis, and you had to dig to find it because there's so much crap going on in the world that this is not a story
No
anymore.
one cares
this was
about
a
it.
story 15 years ago.
Yeah, this is and it's not a story now. Abraham Masunda, 52, from Zambia, was allegedly attacked by his 40-year-old wife following an argument about a rodent. She claimed the animal was pestering her, and she bit his penis off.
Oh my God, I've got so many questions. How? They're arguing about a rat in the house?
A rat.
How did she get in position to do that in the middle of an argument?
I think they were sleeping.
So the argument was over, and she came back with some revenge.
That's what it looks like,
Revenge later.
Yeah.
God,
The cops said that they were sleeping together in the bedroom,
I wish that was the most messed up news in the world right now, but it's not even close.
and she caused a major tear, sinking her teeth into his genitals.
So
Maybe he didn't get she didn't get it right off.
not clean off.
I hope not.
If you're gonna commit to that,
Yeah, I mean, you might as well go for it, right?
like,
How hard do you think you'd have to bite?
oh my God, like fairly hard, like really hard.
They say that to bite your own fingers off, all you need to do is put the amount of pressure in that you'd need to bite a carrot.
No chance.
I bet you couldn't do it.
No. There's no chance. That's not true. You can't bite through bone the same as you can bite through a carrot. That's ridiculous.
I don't know how we're ever going to find out.
Where did you read this now? God, this having us have you research these topics has put you into a bad place.
It's put me in a bad place. I've come up with some crazy stuff.
Okay, so anyways, moral of the story is if there's a frickin' rodent in your house, get the rat out.
Yes. Save your genitals.
Save your Yikes.
Okay. Number 2.
I'm tense right now.
Are you okay?
I'm like,
You're feeling it.
I'm thinking about what
Phantom bite.
I'm just thinking back to my honeydew list. My wife left me before she left, and I'm like, frick, she comes back tomorrow. What do I got to get done?
Oh yeah, did you get all the rats out of the house?
I'm like, I'm going to make sure that's not on the list. That's for sure.
So, entrepreneur offers ghost ship tours of moored cruise ships in the English Channel.
That's kind of cool. What's a moored? I don't know what that means. A moored.
It's like they're stuck there.
Like they're floating out.
They're
at sea.
floating, yeah.
That's kind of cool, though.
Yeah.
That's not super weird. There would be a lot of people that would be interested in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't actually go on board them, though.
Oh, well then, next.
Right?
Well, what does he do?
They just drive by them and they talk about them.
Okay. Well, that story got instantly less cool.
It instantly got less cool, although you can still get their Wi-Fi as you drive past the ships.
Off the ship.
Yeah.
So so they're not that old of ships then. This story is eroding.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think it would be very cool if these were actual like older ghost ships, and I don't mean like pirate ships from 300 years ago. I mean
like
even if they were like 60 years old.
Yeah, that'd be super
floating
cool.
out at sea, and you could walk through, and if everything was kind of like still there,
dusty,
that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be super cool.
So
like ghost towns.
He needs to go back to the drawing board in his business plan. Like that's like a tour of frickin' empty houses in the Regina.
Yeah, it's not.
Here we are at 619 Hamilton Street.
It's less than that.
Nobody lives here anymore.
You can't go in
by the siding that it's a little bit in disrepair.
No one's been by to cut the lawn.
What happened inside? Nothing to my knowledge. I don't know that anything happened.
Know.
They just haven't been able to rent it yet.
If you get close enough, you can still pick up the Wi-Fi.
You can see that there's a bit of dust on the windowsills there for sure.
It's the worst tour idea. I mean, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like a scam.
The disparity between the potential and the reality of this is like, it's huge.
Get on them.
It's huge. It's like there was a lot of lost opportunity there. Is that it?
That's it. That was a
two stories.
No, I got one more. I got the good news story. I saved it.
I thought you shorted me today.
Anheuser-Busch's new non-alcoholic dog beer
4 dogs
quickly sells out. Yes. It's a pork bone broth beer. They sold out their first day.
So I'm on board with this.
Buy a beer for your dog.
I'm on board because some dogs like beer.
Yeah.
And I would rather people feed their dog non-alcoholic beer than the assholes out there who think it's funny to get their dogs blasted.
Not cool.
Those people are whatever. They got their own issues. Speaking of people who should have their penises bit off.
Those people.
I'm on board with this.
Yeah, right?
And I bet I'm not surprised they sold out. People love their dogs. You release things for dogs and it's a pretty smart play.
So when you buy the beer for your dog, do you buy a 6-pack and then do you drink a few?
I would try one. I would try one.
It's made with pork, corn, celery, mint, turmeric, and ginger.
Do dogs appreciate these seasonings?
So I don't. I mean, dogs eat garbage. So
right. It's like, I can really taste the subtle notes of mint. I think a lot of those are unnecessary. Those are human appreciations. The dog doesn't care.
Yeah, they don't care.
But anyway,
so
maybe they're trying to make it palatable for humans, though, knowing that
because I would try it.
They're gonna try it.
I feel like
I
don't
want
it to
something. Be complete garbage.
No, it's gonna probably.
It's a decent move. Like when you go to Starbucks sometimes with a dog and they give you the little the puppuccino.
Puppuccino, just whipped cream.
It makes you smile a little bit. And for people that love their dogs, are like, this is so good. I love coming to Starbucks.
Tim Hortons gives you the.
Tim's does something for the dogs
they do. They give you like an old fashioned Timbit because it's just a donut.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
For your dog. Yeah. Although the puppuccino is a much better move.
It's got a better name, that's for sure. What do they have? Does Tim's have a fancy name for their donut?
It's Tim Hortons.
Timbit, like a dog
bit,
a dog nut.
Dog nut. Back to the genitals. That's actually really appropriate considering how some people like jokingly say the word donut, dog nut. Dog nut. You're welcome, Tim Hortons.
There you go, Timmy's. Drinking McDonald's coffee though.
We're done with the news.
Okay, fine.
Are you okay with that?
Yes and no. I enjoy the news. I enjoy those more than I'm going to enjoy today's topics.
Oh, no.
So, buckle in.
Buckle in. Because
here we go.
Shane set up the greatest podcast ever.
Should we talk about what we got going on? Should we give a teaser?
You want to tease?
Are we ready for that?
I mean... We kind of just came up with the name yesterday.
A lot has happened, though, in the last 24 hours to push this thing forward.
It has.
Let's not give all the details, but let's just say that we have another podcast brewing, right? Okay?
Brewing.
Dun, 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 dun. Bryce and I are doing another podcast, which I think a lot of people on this podcast may appreciate, too.
Yeah, I think it'll be
some of them, right? It's not a decking podcast. It's more of a business entrepreneur podcast that we're going to do. But I think it'll be cool. So stay tuned for details on that. And we'll leave it at that for now.
You know what we should do?
What's that?
Oh, we're not prepared at all. Don't worry about it. I was going to say we should give away the camel lever.
We're not prepared at all. We'll have to do that some other way. We'll give that away. Okay, anyway, today's topic is... we're going to talk about the biggest debates in the industry right now as it stands in 2020. Now, we did a podcast a couple months ago that was, I don't remember the name of it. It was something to do with controversial building practices. There might be a tiny bit of overlap here, but I've tried to leave the kind of more mundane, kind of small pity crap out of this and be more kind of like actual legitimate topics that people kind of debate. That there's not really a right or wrong to necessarily, just like differing opinions on. So the Instagram people that are in here too, I think if they have any inputs as to other debates that you're hearing out there in the industry, that feel free to chime in. And maybe there's not enough context yet to know what that is, but after the first couple, you can be like, oh, I see what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
The first one is the obvious one that we've talked about quite a bit recently because we did a double episode podcast on steel framing. And so the debate between wood and steel framing right now is never been hotter than it is at the moment.
Especially with all the fires in California.
Is California burning right now?
Yeah.
Like in the forest or in the streets?
Like in the forest.
Okay.
People are buying their own fire trucks.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Once again, the news is so full of other crap.
You didn't even know. Last week I had one about a guy putting out his house fire with beer. Was that last week or the year before?
Oh yeah, you told me about that one.
Yeah, and
I debated. I didn't think that was possible. But you told me it happened.
He did it.
With 30 liters of beer.
30 liters of beer.
I don't think that's possible. Don't think that's enough beer.
But wood versus steel. You wouldn't have
to worry about it, right? So the debate between wood versus steel, the reason it's hot right now is because of what's happening with wood, not necessarily what's happening with steel. Now, to preface that, though, I guess I'm not prefacing it because I already said it. I can't
take
preface something that's been said already.
You could try.
To suffice it.
Shane's making up words.
Steel had made some moves recently to become a little bit more topical, even before what happened with wood right now is happening. I talk about steel, it's just a raw material. Some brands like Fortress came out. What I'm talking about is Fortress came out with steel framing that kind of made some advancements on what was out there, systematized it a little bit, made it a little bit more friendly to get into from a price perspective and a usability perspective, made it a bit more attractive, just kind of like improved on what was out there a little bit, which then kind of made people pay attention a bit more to this idea that, hey, maybe at some point I should start looking at steel framing, at least for my higher end projects.
Yeah.
If not all, right? So that was already kind of happening in the last kind of year or two because of that, because of Fortress coming out. Trex has had their system in place for a while. There's other like steel stud manufacturers that are paying more attention to the usability of steel in decks now as well. So you may not have heard of them as much. They're not promoting themselves, but there's been steel stud manufacturers are like, yeah, you can use our light gauge steel for decks. There's nothing stopping you.
They're light gauge steel studs.
Right. And so go ahead, but it's just not a system. So it's not as easy and friendly to get into. So it takes a guy like Scott from Precision who works with a lot of steel to be like, yeah, I can make that work. I can buy raw goods. It's not systematized and make a deck out of it. So that's happening already. Now, combine that with the fact that wood is now both scarce and expensive this year.
Yeah. Did it go up again?
It's good. Like we've had price increases in June, July, and August. I haven't seen one for September yet, but like
there's still a lot of
probably
September to go.
Time. Yeah. So, and to be fair, the prices increases that we saw in June, July, August didn't come at the start of the month. They came halfway through the month. So there's potential that there's another one coming. Scott from Precision Construction in the podcast, in the Instagram now says we forgot to bring in the fireproof aspect of steel framing on the episodes we did. And like, yes, there's that.
Yeah.
So, because some areas require it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, some commercial spaces do, or if you're in like, I don't know, some areas require like fire rated decking and framing. And so therefore in some places you've been coating your wood with something that gives it a higher fire rating, or you've been doing different things, but steel by its very nature,
is not wood.
doesn't burn unless you build trade centers out of it. And so,
whoa, whoa.
You'll leave that alone. So there's that. So the wood has gone up in price a bunch this year. It's hard to find. And now people are saying like, maybe now's the time. I can now get steel, and not that it's come down a bunch, but it did come down a little bit at the start of the year, and wood's gone up a little bit. So the gap is closing. The availability of the steel seems to be, it's no worse than wood. Like that's a distribution thing. It's a little bit tougher to find for some people, but it's not in shortage because in the same way that lumber is. It just may not be available in your area.
Right.
But you can get it. It's available.
This doesn't seem like a debate.
It may not, but there is a debate though, because some people, and I don't know how much we should value their opinions, but some people push back and be like, stupid, steel's stupid, completely unnecessary.
It's an
Use
advancement,
wood.
man.
Steel will be here and gone in no time.
No.
Nobody's going to do it. Why don't you just make it out of aircraft grade alloy aluminum if you want to really do it right?
Maybe eventually.
So they go on these stupid rants like that. But anyways, so there's a bit of a debate, and there's for sure a debate for a homeowner who's kind of in that fringe budget where it's like, maybe it's not a super high end deck, so it's a little bit harder to squeeze the price of steel into it, or whatever. They may have that debate to make up in their own mind. Is it worth spending a little bit more money on the steel? And in our episode with Scott, we talked about how sometimes it's not any more money. But I think it's safe to say, if we're talking about the systems, which is probably what people are going to find and buy at retail and install as contractors first before they get into just using light gauge steel potentially, then it's probably, in most cases, it's probably a little bit more money. So there is a debate for customers to decide whether they want to spend the extra money on steel.
I mean, it's a scary product. Like there's a lot that people just don't know about it, right?
Yeah, there's like anything that there's unknowns with, people are hesitant to get onto it right away.
Yeah.
And like, this isn't some new whatever, like steel framing is not new.
And it's been around for a long time.
Steel is not new as a construction material. It's just like used in this aspect now. It just takes people a little bit of time to wrap their heads around it. Contractors specifically, because most contractors care about efficiency and they want to kind of get in, do a great job, finish the deck as efficiently as possible so they can move out to the next one, because every minute is $1. And so to go then switch your crew that's been using the same materials for whatever, 3 years, 6 years, 15 years, 25 years, however long they've been together, and that can just fly through wood frame decks. Yeah. They don't even want to take the couple steps back to familiarize themselves with this new system to then maybe have the benefits of its lifelong, because it'll slow them down for a little bit and it's going to cost them money in the now. Yeah. So there's hesitancy there. I mean, this is like, you and I both listen to Gary Vee quite a bit, and he always talks about that people, when it comes to their lifestyle, aren't willing to eat shit for a little bit to get to enjoy the rest of their lives. Like, people get to a certain level of comfort in their own lives. Their, the money they have, the disposable cash they spend, the lifestyle they have of going to the movies twice a week or going on trips twice a year. They're not willing to give that up for a year or two.
It's easy to be comfortable.
To then have a better life after that. Nobody wants to take the hit now. And the same thing can be said for this. Nobody wants to take the hit now to... Yeah. Because to Scott's point, again, he's going to get a lot of shout-outs in here. Steel, once you get used to it, usually way faster than wood. Yeah. Because it eliminates all the crap you have to do with lumber, the planing and crowning and whatever. Just being mindful of the different sizes of stuff, the cuttings. A lot of stuff can come pre-cut to the job site. Length. Everything's flat, true, straight, whatever. Doesn't matter, So it just snaps together. Yeah. So are people worried? Like, do you think contractors get worried about like the versatility, like the ability to pivot mid-job with steel versus wood? You're out on a job framing a deck and you need to change something. You can just do it with wood. Yeah, and I think you can just do it with steel too if you are as familiar with it as you are for wood. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to get there. Like if Scott's building a deck that's 24 by 12 rectangle and somebody comes out and be like, you know what? We actually want to jog out here and put a stair land in here. Like, to him, that's not going to scare him away. He'll be like, okay, sounds good. I'll go get some more steel. Yeah, right. Exactly. But I mean, if the customer is like, it's going to be 24 by 12. Oh, we want to go 24 by 14 now. All of a sudden you need longer joists. Well, you're screwed either way. You got to go to get new materials either way. I think the change, it's just different. Like, it's different tools. I don't think there's an issue there. I agree that people probably see that as an issue because they're not familiar with working with steel. They know how they would make those changes with wood. Right. And they probably just pretty similar with steel. They would be no different. Yeah. They would be no different, but they just don't know. Get steel. So therefore it's scary. So, and we're not here to like pick one side of the debate or not, even though it sounds like we just did. You're pretty heavy on the steel train. Not here to tell you what's right or wrong here. We're just discussing the debates that are out there. Leaving that one for later. While we're on the topic of wood, there's a debate right now going on with many homeowners for sure, and the odd contractor because of the price of lumber going up. People are now saying like it's September. I've only got a couple more months to enjoy my deck before we kind of like, put the furniture away and hibernate for the winter.
Yep.
Is it worth me building the deck now at these prices, or is the lumber prices going to come back down in the spring?
Oh, yeah.
And so that's a debate that's happening right now with people, and nobody knows the answer to that. Nobody can predict what's going to happen with it. However, unlikely that it's going to go all the way back to where it was.
It's like getting comfortable, man.
We can look at the prices of gas for an example on that. Once they go way up, they're unlikely to go way back down.
No.
They may slide back a little bit, and then, but...
they're still at $1.10, and you're like, why?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The shocking thing was when gas went back down to like 60-some cents this summer.
I thought I was in high school again.
It was like, I haven't seen these prices since like 1994. But anyways, unlikely to happen with wood. So we don't know what's going to happen with wood prices come spring. It's going to make our job very difficult this winter booking material, because we're going to be a little bit gun shy to book at these prices, because
what if they go down?
it could go down. It may not go down. It could go up.
Yeah.
Still, like, we don't know. And so, but I know that the nightmare scenario would be to book a bunch of lumber at high prices and have the prices fall off. That's not ideal. So there would have to be some sort of assurances from the mills, from the distributors, to say your winter booking has these conditions on it, that if the price does drop back down, you pay that one, or you can cancel your orders or something. Otherwise, you're not going to get anybody booking anything. So I think generally people in the industry are saying like it's unlikely it's going to come back down a whole bunch, if it does at all.
Not like a drop off, like it's going up.
Right. And so right now, like we held off on increasing our prices as long as we could. We've had to now, but we still, just out of, goodness of our hearts and trying to move some material, we have a sale on right now, 15% off. So we're priced where everybody is right now competitively in our market, but we're also offering 15% off right now. So is spring's prices going to be less than the regular price today? I don't know. Is it going to be less than what the sale is that we have on right now?
No.
Probably not, but who knows, right? So it's still a good time to buy, I think, now, because what probably will happen, though, because it almost does every year, is that everything else is going to go up.
Yeah.
Aluminum rail systems every year go up 5 to 7%. Composite decking a lot of times over the winter goes up 5 to 7%. So, yeah, lumber might drop back 10 or 15%. But if everything else goes up 5 or 10, and that's 90% of the cost, you're going to be on the other side of it and spending more anyway back in the spring. So I wouldn't be scared off of it at this point. Now, that said, some guys in the States are saying that they're getting 5/4x6 treated decking prices at like over $2 a linear foot US dollars. That's messed up.
That's really high.
That's super crazy. High. Our increased price right now is at $1.30 or $1.40, somewhere in there, Canadian per linear foot, 5/4. Wow. We started the year at 99 cents. So it's gone up about 40%, but it's nowhere near what some of these guys in the US are dealing with right now.
So is that just because I can't find it? Like, is that just like a supply demand, like some guys hoarding it? And
yes. So undoubtedly, like the price increases that we've implemented, like we're good guys, Bryce. We're really good guys.
Yeah.
I say that I say that with a smile on my face, but honest to God, Wade and I are not the type of people that are going to try to like sneak every time we can. And it's like there's an opportunity to screw people and make more money here. We're just not those type of personalities. No. We held off on these price increases in spite of our competitors increasing their prices, and our distribution increasing prices to us gave us every justification to increase prices and say like, hey, let's make hay while the sun shines on this lumber we bought cheaper because everybody else has gone up. We didn't do that. We held off on
kept it low,
keeping our prices low just because we didn't have to, like we weren't going to lose money by continuing to sell it at that price. And just as it's shitty for contractors and homeowners to have price increases go up. So if I don't have to do that, I'm kind of protecting them in a way. So that said, I believe that there are some lumberyards out there. I'm not saying locally. I believe some exist out there that would take every opportunity to say like,
make some cash.
I've only got a few boards and nobody else can get them. $250 linear foot for deck boards then.
Right.
And they're making money right now. That's probably happening in some places.
Oh, definitely.
So, but the price increases all we've done is matched. And even our last increase, we reduced our margins. So we didn't even put the full match of what our cost is up. Wow. We kept our margins lower and then put it on sale.
Why?
I don't know. Now that I say it out loud, it sounds really dumb. I'm going to go downstairs and change that immediately.
Get here now.
But anyway, Scott in the chat says greater versatility with steel. Joist splicing is easier and even addressed in code.
Oh, there you go.
So there you go. So I think what he's referring to there is that if you're like, let's say somebody does decide to extend the length of their deck, you may not necessarily have to go get longer joists. You can splice them together with bolts, and that's like code approved way of doing it. Whereas you can't really, I shouldn't say you can't, but you don't do that with wood.
You just go get new joists.
Yeah, longer wood. Yep.
So the build now, wait for spring thing, is that just referring to price? Because like I feel like there's a lot of good reasons to build your deck in the fall.
Yes, I was when I wrote that point down, it was in my mind, it was price, because that's the debate. People are like, well, I don't know, should I wait for prices to come down? That's kind of what they're doing right now. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good reasons to build in the fall.
Yeah.
I would say it's a far better time than the spring. The problem is that people, like, they get spring fever in the spring and they want the outdoors and they know they're about to spend the time in the outdoors. So then they want to book their job in, and it results in this massive spike of interest at that time, which then just stresses everybody out. The good thing about doing it in the fall is, like, just off the top of my head, if we're going to talk about this, if you're building it yourself or a contractor is building it, the weather's much nicer to work in. Nobody wants to work outside when the temperature is 38 degrees or 107 degrees.
Nobody.
You don't want to be outside slaving away doing that. Work outside when it's 20 degrees or 70, right?
Yeah.
Much nicer weather to work in. You can probably, at least if you're here right now, and in many places, take advantage of some end of season clearance deals on inventory and whatnot. So we've got sales on right now that people can take advantage of. You're not going to get that in the spring, less likely to get that in the spring. And if you do get sales in the spring, they're less likely to be genuine good sales.
Oh, they're just those sneaky sales.
They're more like marketing sales.
Hey, we're selling.
Yeah. Whereas now it's like guys are like, we need to move some inventory. They're putting on actual legitimate sales. So that's another good reason. The obvious one is you have a deck now instead of in the spring. So if you're the type of guy who wants to barbecue out in the fall or even in the winter, you have that ready to go. Or if that's a passageway to your outdoors, and you don't have stairs or a deck right now at all, then at least you have that for the winter to get out to your yard or out wherever. Contractor availability is typically higher at the end of the season than it is in the spring. So you're not fighting with a bunch of other people trying to get booked in and get your job built. Like, you call now, you're likely to get scheduled in. What else?
You have it when it starts.
You have it when the spring comes.
Like the first day is warm out, you can go out.
Right. As soon as the snow clears off and you're ready to go, like, you're out there enjoying your deck, and your neighbors are busy phoning around trying to get people to actually show up to do a quote. Because if you don't phone till April, you're not getting it built till July, August, or whatever.
Right. And that's such a heartbreak for those people.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of reasons to do it now, outside of the price conversation.
Well, and that all of those reasons seem to outweigh the price, to me at least, right? Like, if I could have it for spring right now, and I'm willing to spend just maybe a little more on the basis of the price might go down or might not go down, like, get it now.
Yeah, because as we've mentioned before, the framing, which is the lumber part, if your deck is all treated, maybe a different story, but a lot of people are doing composite decks nowadays. The framing is the lowest portion of the lowest ratio of the whole cost of the project. Probably like 15% of the project, 10 or 15%. So you're
what are you saving?
Humming and hawing and waiting to see if the lumber is going to come back down 10 or 15%. But that was only ever $1,500 of your $10,000 deck in the first place. So it might be $150.
Yeah. Is that $150 worth 3 months of? Or
it may not be,
waiting.
Or it may continue to climb and it could be $150 the other way.
Yeah.
So like, you're gambling over the price of the cheapest part of the deck, while risking that the other 85%
railing
and is likely to go up.
Yeah. Goes up every year.
So there we go. Okay, we got some comments here.
Go.
Precision Construction. He should just be like a host on this now. He's so involved.
We should get him in here.
even if the price comes down on wood, is the quality going to catch up from the rush to try and meet demand? So that's the other thing we didn't talk about, is that the industry shut down, the supply wasn't there, people weren't working, the mills weren't milling, the plants weren't treating.
Yep.
Stuff wasn't moving. So when things came back and the rush happened, they were trying to pump this stuff through as fast as they could. And this is based on zero research. I don't actually know this, but the hearsay out there is that they're trying to push things through the logistics chain faster than normal. And so people are saying, well, the quality of the lumber that's coming through is probably not as good. It's probably greener when it goes under treatment. It probably doesn't get treated as long. But these things some of them may be true and some may not. I do believe that they're probably reducing their requirements on the quality of lumber that's coming out. So if what your treated lumber used to be was, number 2 grade or whatever, I believe that the requirements to meet that grade have been loosened this year to fill some gaps. So take that for what it's worth. Your lumber may not be as clean as it once was. People are also saying they're noticing that it's coming in much wetter and drying out much faster. And that's probably just a result of the demand is happening so fast that it doesn't sit at the treatment plant out in their yard and dry a bit before it gets shipped to the dealer and then out. It's basically going out of the treatment plant, tarped, onto the truck, gone. There's just not as much dry time before it shows up on site. And so that could be playing into that a little bit as well. So there's that. Another comment here from Alexander Deck and Rail. Quality of wood is already trash. What do you think the true lifespan of wood is that's been produced in the past couple of years? And Precision Construction replies and says, all I know is that the lifespan can't touch steel lifespan. So this is a wag right here. It's a wild ass guess as to whatever. But I mean, the voice of the industry that we're all a part of has kind of hinted the fact that treated lumber doesn't last like it used to already before this year. Mm-hmm. People used to say you'll get 30 years out of it. Now people are like, you'll probably get 10, which is maybe 15, in some cases less. So we were already saying this stuff is younger growth stuff. It's not as tight. It's not as dense. Therefore, it's more susceptible to rot and whatever else. That was already happening. Now we're talking about, well, has the quality dipped even further this year? Mm-hmm. Time will tell.
Just trying to catch up, right?
Time will tell. So,
5 years from now.
We'll see. But to Scott's point, not an issue with wood or with steel.
Yeah.
We're not having this conversation with steel. Steel is steel.
Steel will always be steel.
Always, right?
Will always be steel.
It'll never be a powdered version of steel. It'll never crumble into nothingness. Anyway,
that's 2.
Here, 2. God damn, it's gonna be a long podcast. Is Moisture Shield cool or not? This is another debate that comes in here all the time. And the reason I put this on here and it's a debate is because some people are adamant that it is cooler, and some people are adamant that it's not.
I don't think it's either way.
And then and then there's us who are in the middle of saying yes, it's cooler, but not as much as people are claiming it is.
That's right.
So this is still a conversation that people are still out there looking for a composite that doesn't burn your feet off. Because that's what their customers want. And so these conversations happen and people ask have you found anything stays cooler? And inevitably somebody's going to pipe in there and be like, well, AZEK stays 15% cooler, and they're just regurgitating something that AZEK told them, or whatever. We've not seen
that it's not happened.
Doesn't really, we don't see that. And 15% cooler than what? I don't know. Then composite, maybe, I don't know. But inevitably there'll be the 3 guys in the world that use Moisture Shield will pop in there.
They love it.
And I'm kidding. Moisture Shield sells a ton of decking. But there's a few hardcore fans of the cool deck technology lines, and they'll pipe in and be like, yep, I can walk on my deck in bare feet in 95-degree weather. How about you? And they a few guys are out there a little pompous about it. Well, most of the time. And so then spurs this debate, because then somebody else will come in and be like, bull crap, I've used it.
Yeah.
It still gets hot. And then the guy's like, nope. And then it's just a bunch of yesing and knowing and words, whatever. So we've tested it all. Years ago, we had some test results that we knew what our experience was with it. And we recently did them all again. Mm-hmm. And like we have a fair bit of experience in it, not in installing it and seeing it out like on full decks and getting people's feedback. Ours is more like firsthand testing and seeing it at trade shows and everything else. That's our experience with it. So does it stay cooler? Yeah. The light, like the mochaccino color from Cool Deck was the coolest composite board we tested by fractions of a degree versus another one.
It was still hot.
It was still hot. It just wasn't as hot as other options.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 30% less hot than other light colors? No. It wasn't even 30% less hot than dark colors.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it stays cooler. That is true. Without that Cool Deck technology in that mochaccino color, would that board test higher? I'm certain it would.
Yes.
I am positive that whatever they're putting into that, the coating there, the reflective material, does work.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't enough to make a huge difference on your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's mostly driven by color. So do you have to buy Moisture Shield Cool Deck technology to get a deck that stays less burning hot than others? No, it's one of the options. Mm-hmm. You could also just buy a light colored deck.
Yeah.
And it will get you just about as close.
Or a pair of shoes.
Yeah, or just wear shoes in your deck. Yeah. So yeah, there's a big debate. I don't know how when there's like actual there's opinions and then there's like facts. And in our opinion, I feel like we have facts because we've tested it a bunch of times and through 11 different intervals on 2 different years on 3 different days.
Mm-hmm.
And the data we're seeing
proof is in the pudding, man.
It's the answers in between. Yes, it stays cooler.
Yeah.
No, it's not cool.
No.
And nor is it 30% less than whatever they tested it against, which...
And they've marketed it in a way where it's cool deck technology, not I can walk on the deck in 90-degree heat technology.
Right. And I believe that color and other color, like light colors, like those Cool Deck ones and the lighter color ones we tested at 90 degrees, you can walk on them. And they're warm. They're not burning hot. But if it's 110 out, now we're talking like even the Cool Deck ones are going to be toasty on the feet.
Yeah.
If it's 120 out, they're all hot. It's just the dark colors that get there at lower temperatures. But that's obvious. Like the color thing is obvious.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, back to the comments here. We have, what do we got here? Alexander says pressure treated LVL versus steel for beams or for the entire construction, I wonder. I'm not sure. Maybe he was replying to somebody on that one. I'm not sure. Newcastle Build says, we've been tearing out 5-year-old rotting wood decks for the last 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Wood's a dinosaur. Time to move on. Steel is easy once you embrace it. And Precision says, preach.
Preach.
So
there you go.
There's the kind of stuff people are experiencing. So steel just removes any doubt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can sit here and debate all day how long the wood's going to last. None of us really know. Some of them might be 5 years. Some of them might be 20 years. Some of them might be 15. But with wood,
steel,
there's no debate. It's not going to...
Steel is just going to...
It's going to be warranted for 25 years and then last beyond that.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yep, 100%. It's steel.
Composite versus PVC.
This is a debate? People debate this?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Why?
Well, because I think there's a real debate here to be had. I do think that the benefits of PVC outweigh the benefits of composite mostly.
So it's better to get PVC most of the time?
No.
Oh, okay.
Let's just get to the next one.
No.
We have an episode from way back when. I don't know what it is. Probably episode it's single digits likely. It's likely 6 or 7. That's all you need to know about composite versus PVC. So I believe there was 13 things or whatever to know the differences between the two. That said, it's a constant debate. And because there's pros and cons to both, that means the debate won't end.
Right.
Because there's always going to be people on both sides of it. Go back and listen to that podcast for a full list. Off the top of my head, the benefits of composite are the fact that you can get lower cost composite boards, which you're probably not going to get lower cost PVC boards. Mm-hmm. PVC boards generally are at the cost of a mid to high range composite. They don't really have low price points like a composite might be. So price can be one of them. Density to impact. A lot of PVCs will dent easier than a composite because they're not as dense. Some brands are very good for impact. For example, like Vecca deck is quite durable to impact as well. So like depends on the brand sometimes, but
those Fibron Promenade ones were.
Fibron Promenade was very durable to denting as well. So there are some out there that hold up better, but as a general rule of thumb, I would say that composites do perform better as far in dent tests. What else for composite? They don't expand and contract as much. So they do expand and contract, but they don't expand and contract as much as PVCs. So they're a little bit more thermally stable. That's probably the big things for composite. Now PVC, lighter to work with is one of them.
Yeah.
You typically have much better traction on them is another one. The warranties are typically longer because there's no wood fiber in them. The install requirements are less stringent because there's no wood in them. So you can install them anywhere for the most part, not have clearance requirements, whatever else. So there's that. Those are probably the main things from the PVC side. So purely from working with them, PVC is obviously the nicer one to work with. It screws down easier. It's lighter. It cuts cleaner, all this stuff. But there's pros and cons to both. And then you have these other categories like Decorators, Eovations line or mineral-based composites that kind of aren't really, they kind of have their own pros and cons.
Right.
And almost a little bit the best of both worlds. So, the concerns, so they have a lot of benefits of PVC. Lighter weight to work with.
Lighter weight, yeah.
They still do have the density of composite though, so they don't impact and dent as much, but they've also got that thermal stability that's way better than both of them. So it's like the one major drawback of PVCs is the fact that it does expand and contract and move quite a bit more. So if you could solve that, then you've got a product that's like maybe undeniably better than composite. And Decorators has kind of done that with this product. So you've got these three categories, but the big one is obviously composite versus PVC because those are the big brands are in those two categories. And when I say composite, I mean wood plastic composite. Mm-hmm. And so there's no right or wrong to that. People have their preferences. And it can depend on your market. If you're in a really cold market that the thermal stability comes into play more, then maybe you want to stick with a composite that doesn't move as much as a PVC. Or you look at it and be like, what does it matter if the bruise in the apple is this big or this big? If it's got a bruise, it's not like
it's got a bruise.
It's already not ideal. So what does it matter if it moves a little bit more? There's also that way to look at it too. But anyway,
I've noticed that the colors seem to be better on the composite side than the PVC. Just from a look.
I was going to say that one. And then I was like, nope, that's just an opinion thing. I don't know if it's true because I was going to say the opposite. I was going to say a lot of times the PVC ones seem to have I think nicer, truer looking coloring.
Oh, really?
But if you think the opposite, I'm glad I didn't say it.
I think the composite ones, I like all the composite colors that I see, like high end, which is basically where you're going to be for PVC, like the high end prices. I feel like the composite colors are more interesting. Okay. So there you go. That's just
the high end boards like Trex Transcends line, coloring's beautiful. Fibron's Horizon line, coloring's beautiful. Timbertech has some beautiful coloring, and especially in their Reserve line and even their Legacy line. Those are all composites from the big brands, all beautiful coloring. But then you look at like AZEK Vintage. Okay, well I think that's one of the nicest, most realistic looking boards out there. That's a PVC. If you look at Fibron Promenade, basically a knockoff of Vintage, so also looks just like really nice as well. If you look at like Wolf PVC, I think that's some of the nicest coloring in the whole market. That's a PVC. So, and then if you look at Decorators, which is the mineral-based composite, like unbelievable colors and like super attractive.
Super cool looking.
So I don't think that I don't think the coloring is a result of the makeup of the board and the manufacturing at all. It just depends on what coloring they've decided to add to the cap of the board.
Right.
Could be the core could be anything. So now to extend on this a little bit, we have a Trex versus Timbertech. This one comes up a lot because Trex is obviously the number one brand in the market. Everybody that's in decking world knows Trex, has had experience with Trex. It's the most well distributed product out there, the most well marketed.
Yeah. Except for Saskatoon.
Yeah, our market, it's a Fibron market in Saskatoon. It's a Trex market in Regina.
Yeah.
So you can have pockets where things are more popular or whatever. And Timbertech is actually Fibron's not one of the big brands. There's a big gap between the number 2 and number 3. But Trex and Timbertech they go head to head.
Yeah.
And there's Trex fans out there and there's Timbertech fans out there. And each one will swear at the other's products. and saying like, oh, I've used Trex, whatever, it's garbage. The support from Timbertech is way better. And then the next guy will be like, I've been using Trex for 30 years and I've never had a problem with it. And it's been rock solid. I could use Timbertech a few times and it was all warped. And like there's guys that go back and forth. And there's no right or wrong answer. They're both good products. Have they both had their issues? Of course. Every manufacturer of anything has had a problem.
Yeah.
Samsung's Galaxy Notes used to start on fire. Does it mean that Samsung doesn't know how to make a good phone? No. It means that sometimes you inevitably have some failures.
I mean, you like Samsung.
Yeah, they're fine.
Or I guess you have
I have a Huawei.
Huawei.
I was like, I wasn't sure where you
forgot about that.
It's been a long time since I owned a Samsung, but sure.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's no right or wrong answer in that either. You pick what's available to you. You pick which program supports you more. You pick, like, if you're a contractor in Regina, you're going to get a lot more support probably from the Trex reps because it's just, there's more Trex in town. There's more dealers. Therefore, the rep is here more often than you are Timbertech. If you're in Saskatoon, you're probably going to get more favorable treatment from, not favorable treatment. You're going to get more hands-on time with the reps, or not with Fibron than anybody, probably because they have more stores that carry their stuff there. So the reps in town more often, and it's more available. There'll be less headaches trying to get it. So this one can honestly come down to like, see what's available in your market. Where do you shop? What do they carry? They're both good products. They've both got their pros and cons. They both have good loyalty programs. So I'm not picking a side in this debate. They're
both good.
They're both good.
They both got good boards.
I always tell people when people come in, the way our store is organized, we've got the big composite brands kind of on the wider shelves in our stores, and then Decorators and Wolf on the like smaller shelves just because they're smaller lineups. And I always tell people that don't know these brands when they come in, it's like, and maybe I shouldn't use this, but I'm like, it's Ford, Chevy, Dodge. The flaw in that argument,
shouldn't say that to people.
The flaw in that argument is that people are like, which one's the Ford then?
Yeah, exactly.
I either want that one or I don't want that one.
I'm just going to go with the Dodge board. You don't even have to tell me what it is.
Yeah. So sometimes I stay away from that because like people get passionate about that. It's a silly joke, but I've also used the Coke and Pepsi. However, it's hard to pick a third in that fight.
RC
like
Cola?
RC Colas. Like but I'll also often say Coke or Pepsi too. It's like Coke or Pepsi. And people will be like, jokingly, they'll be like, well, which one's the Coke then? Because Pepsi's disgusting. Like the brand loyalty comes out, right? But that's what we're talking about here. Two really great brands, two big brands. Can't go wrong either way. Now the next one that pops up all the time, where I'm saying these are popping up is just in the community of like Facebook groups and Instagram and wherever else that deck builders of the world congregate.
Right.
The next one that's really starting to come up is now Trex versus Decorators. Again, Trex being the number one brand has the most number of brand loyalists, brand supporters, brand influencers.
There's lots of them.
And so they will sing the praises of Trex. Now, there is quite a number of Decorators fans that are popping up now. Contractors that have made the switch to Decorators from something else. They love it. They feel like it's the best product. They're now being vocal about it. So you've got these fans of brands out there playing both sides. And so this year, I would say I've probably seen that
Decorators
debate come up
Trex
more often than even the Trex and Timbertech debate, to be honest. And so, again, there are two great brands, great warranties, great programs. Trex is bigger. Trex is more available. Trex has solid programs. They've got price points at every line. Decorators does make a wood plastic composite as well as a mineral-based composite. The people that are like big brand fans of Decorators are there because of the mineral-based composite.
Right.
They may use some of the wood plastic too, but the benefits that they always talk about are with relation to the mineral-based stuff. What I heard from one guy, and I believe it was Adam Drova, who's in the Facebook groups, and I don't know if he listens to this podcast, but he'll appreciate his shout out now if he does. He put it very well the one time in a comment and said that basically Decorators, this new Decorator stuff, the Voyage, feels like the next generation of composite. So there's been generational changes. When composites first came out 15 years ago, probably 20 years ago now, time flies, hey? From the time we opened the store, we're 5 years later. They used to be made a certain way.
Right.
Things have advanced quite a bit throughout the years. There's been a few major advances, such as like capping the composite was a huge advance. And so that was a generational change. That basically made uncapped composites obsolete in a way because there was very few drawbacks to going to the capped composite, but there was many, many issues fixed by doing it that way. These guys are saying like, this mineral-based stuff feels like the next generation of it. And so he's like, you know, a lot of the benefits, but fixing a lot of the potential problems he had even still with capped composites.
Right.
So that's how it's been kind of framed by some people, and hard to disagree with that. That said, those same people have also said like, listen, I'm a huge fan of the Decorators lines that are out today, but I have no doubt that the next line that Trex comes out with is going to be the best board that comes out, right? Like they've been in this guy's opinion, Decorators maybe has leapfrogged the industry with his technology, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be like that forever. The other guys are undoubtedly working on something to improve again, right? So, yeah.
I mean, it seems so. I was just talking to my 8-year-old daughter who, she's 8 and she's never seen a home computer.
Really?
Doesn't even know what one looks like. Think about that. That's how quickly.
Like not even a laptop or like a desktop?
She's seen a
computer?
laptop. She's never seen a desktop.
Like a desktop computer. That makes sense.
Right?
I don't know that my 13-year-old would even.
But then I told her when we were younger, we didn't even have internet.
Isn't that mind-blowing?
Yes.
I remember getting dial-up internet, simpatico dial-up internet. Game changer. I saw somebody post on Facebook today. They posted it was like close-up picture, so you couldn't see what it was, but it was a page from a TV guide.
Oh man.
And it basically like comments like if you know what this is, like you're old, kind of thing, right?
You're really old.
And I forgot about TV guides, but I saw that and I was like, oh my God. It was like, it flashed me back to like, I don't know, age 5 or 6 at my grandparents' house. Cause we never had TV guides in my house, but my grandparents always had the TV guide.
Yeah.
And when it was time to like find something on TV, you flip through the book to find out what time on what day it was on and what channel it was on.
Yeah.
Through a freaking paper book. And I forgot about it, but that was like instant flashback. I was like, holy smokes, can you?
It just feels like that kind of advancement that we've seen, right, in all of these technologies, even TVs, right? TV guides are on your TV now. Do you remember when that happened?
Yes.
Like that was crazy.
So, yeah, when the guides came on your TV, but they were just a rolling guide, like you couldn't go to.
Oh yeah,
whatever.
that was the
you had to
one
wait,
channel.
And like it would flip 3 up at a time, pause. 3 up at a time, and now you go to hotels, and many hotels are still like that. You have to roll. And you remember like how archaic and shitty that is.
Yep.
Just to scroll back in here a little bit, the guy by the name of Alexander the Deck, the Great, Alexander the Great, the Deck Rail, said he was referring to pressure treated LVLs as joist, beams, and posts. Because they have 25-year warranties on LVLs. So I don't have much experience with them to comment on, because some treated lumber has big warranties too. I don't know if the 25-year warranties, how much fine print there is. I do know that we tried to bring those in this year. Our distributor had released LVL stair stringers, pre-cut stair stringers, pre-cut at 7.5 by 10.5.
Okay.
Pre-cut 1 to 10 rise to 10 step stringers. And so we brought those in. They're pre-cut. The reason we brought them in is because LVL's perfectly straight, no checking, no twisting, no warping. They can sit outside in the sun and they're like, because they're basically thick sheets of plywood, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so they're great for stair stringers for that reason. And what we asked the distributor of those at the time, I think they're made by Plygem, but the distributors, our lumber distributor, was, can we get these in blanks, like not pre-cut, because our contractors don't like using pre-cut stringers for obvious reasons. They'd like to cut them custom for every job. So can we just get the 2x12
right
LVLs pre-treated, stocked? And they looked into it and they came back and said, yep, here's the pricing. We ordered them in 12 foot and 16 foot lengths, 2x12, and never got them. So like the lumber year, I don't know why we didn't end up getting them, but I remember checking back in halfway through the year and then being like, oh yeah, we never got those in. So we were hoping to take a run at them this year. Not so much used for joists necessarily, but probably used for beams and used for stair stringers. And they'd be great in those applications.
Would they be cheaper?
No. Than lumber? No.
No?
They'd be a lot more.
Would they be cheaper than steel?
No.
Oh, wow. So why would you use them?
Good question. I believe when I did the math on them, I think like a 2x12 LVL was about 2.5 times the cost of a 2x12.
It probably weighs a frickin' ton.
It would be, yeah, it's dense stuff. Yeah. And then, so the stringers are cut from, I don't know, anything from 2x10 to 2x14 or 16 even, because the more rise you get, the more throat they left on the board, which means they cut them out of a bigger piece. That's the thing about LVLs. You can cut them to whatever size you want. Mm-hmm. So they're a good option too, but to the point you just made, they're not any cheaper than going steel. So, and I guess you have some decisions
back to the steel thing. Like when we did the steel podcast, you could get rid of a bunch of your tools to save you money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's not like a big transfer over to get into steel as much of a cost as people think.
No, that's right. Yeah, I think those podcasts, part 1 and 2 with Scott, really dispelled a lot of the myths and the fears about switching to steel. So, and one of the big ones being like, well, I don't have all those tools. I have to invest in new tools. And his point was like,
there's a lot you don't need now.
Not really.
Yeah.
Do you not own a grinder already? Well, exactly. I do own a grinder. Okay. So then what tools are you worried about? Well, I need like a cold cutting saw. Yeah. Well, you don't need one, but sure. But sell your router and your miter saw and buy one. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Trade it in. Quigley Cable Rail says 20 years ago, customers did not know of cable railing as an option. Today, they're asking for it. I predict the same for steel framing, but in a shorter time span.
Yeah.
I agree with that to an extent. The thing with customers, though, is that they care very little about what's underneath that they can't see. When they need to make changes and save money, they often want to try to save money on the stuff they don't see.
Yep.
The cable rail is a visual thing. They know they want that. Easier to sell that because they can see it and appreciate it daily. Whereas the stuff that's underneath your deck, they may not be as passionate about. But certainly the awareness of steel framing as an option is going to increase only as the dealer presence increases, because in spite of what many of us think that are in the industry and passionate about it and research stuff, average Joe is not going to be exposed to steel framing until he sees it at the stores.
Well, and the price comes down in comparison.
And the price comes
down.
Like
for
they may do some online research and shopping and maybe might come across it at some point that way. But that's going to take quite a while. So once the contractors and the dealers start having it on hand and promoting it at that level, I think only then will there become like mass awareness at the consumer level. And my point the other day I made in one of the posts was, I don't know that we're ever going to see steel take over the entire market. Lumber's always going to be there. Steel will make a pretty good sized dent in the higher end market. The premium,
that's where it should be.
Yeah. But somebody who's coming in to build a pressure treated or cedar deck is not going to do that on steel framing.
No.
It's just not going to happen. Even a budget composite deck, probably unlikely it's going on steel framing. So there's room for both, probably. Scott from Precision Construction says, Quigley, you're right. 2 years ago, people were usually surprised when I talked about steel. Now people contact me because they have researched and want steel and know that's what we do.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go. His calls would be skewed, I'm going to say, because he's only going to get the calls. He's going to get the calls from the people looking specifically for steel because he's the steel guy.
They've already found it.
Right. They research steel, they're going to find him. The average deck builder down there is probably not getting as many steel calls as Scott would be. But regardless, it's undoubtedly growing, as we talked about at the start of the show. It's undoubtedly growing its awareness quite a bit this year, at least within the industry, and that's going to filter down to the homeowner as well.
Yep.
The last one. Frick. I don't know how we do this sometimes.
How does it always
ramble
get to an hour?
It's like we can't do them less than an hour and 20 minutes now.
Doesn't happen.
The final debate we're going to get into, Trex saw.
Your favorite.
How do we do this? Like, everybody's been waiting for this one. They knew it was coming.
Track saws.
They knew that the whole reason we even made this episode was for the track saws, and we had to
just been called track saw.
Fill the rest of it. So this one's in there kind of as a bit of a joke, but it's a debate. It's always a debate as to whether people need or want them, and every day a non-believer is turned into a believer.
They're happening more.
How
and more
do I know this?
Now.
Because they tag us. We've become such a voice for track saws in the industry.
Track saws.
That anytime somebody buys a track saw, we get a DM or a tag or something to say like,
we love our track
saw. Well, I finally did it. The Ultimate Deck podcast convinced me to get a track saw. And so it keeps happening. And I'm going to stick with my claim that nobody that's ever bought a track saw has regretted buying a track saw.
No.
They all come back and be like, I should have done this sooner. I was wrong. I don't know why I fought this for so long. It's amazing. And in spite of this happening over and over and over again, the holdouts still sit there and say that you don't need track saw.
Why would you not want something that makes your life easier? That's what I think. It cuts a straight line for you.
This argument is like, there's two highways between here and Saskatoon. One, the speed limit is 90 kilometers.
Yes.
50 miles. And it has a bunch of turns and it winds through and it's single lane.
Mm-hmm.
The other highway is a double lane highway. Right?
Yep.
2 lanes separated.
Lots of room.
No other traffic going. Everybody's going the same direction as you.
Yep.
Speed limit's 110.
So you're doing 120.
And it goes straight to Saskatoon.
Yeah. Right there. No stops.
These guys want to say, well, I've always taken the other highway that goes 90. It gets me there, doesn't it?
Yes.
I've gotten there every single time.
That's a true statement.
Nobody's arguing that it will get you there, and it's probably worked for you for 30 years. You've always taken the highway, but they built a new highway that'll get you there faster,
right?
Safer, in less time.
All of those things.
Which is the same as faster.
It is the same as faster.
But less turns. Like it's more direct route.
And faster.
You can travel on it faster, and it's more of a point A to point B. So it's faster for 2 reasons.
Yeah, super fast.
And you want to argue with me that that's not the better road to take?
I don't know how you can argue this one. Just get a track saw. Right?
Yes.
I don't even build decks and I want a track saw.
Oh, it's $600. What a waste. You have $12,000 of tools in your trailer and you don't use $8,000 of them.
Yeah. You'll use a track saw every time.
In a month, you're going to go buy another combo kit from DeWalt and Makita
just for batteries.
8 tools in it, 4 of which you already have the tools and don't need them. So you can get some more batteries and have an extra set of drills around in case whatever.
And that temperature gun.
And it's going to cost you $1,200 and you still won't buy the track saw. Frickin' guys.
So like, is the whole debate about track saws is that they can cut a better... How could you cut a better than straight line?
You can't.
Exactly.
You just have guys who think they can.
But you can't.
You can't.
Even if you could cut a straight line, this makes it easier.
This is literally somebody claiming that they can take a big roll of paper and draw a straight line better than somebody with a ruler. It's exactly
that's the argument.
Perfect analogy.
Because that's all it is.
Can you draw a straight line freehand?
No.
Ish. You might have a super steady hand.
Yeah.
You can snap a chalk line as a reference, and then you can draw your line, and it'll be pretty darn straight.
So you just added another step. Snap that chalk line.
Some people. But if you get down and eyeball it, it ain't gonna be that straight. Or you can snap out your meter stick, your yard stick. Remember those?
Your yard stick.
Boom.
Done.
Perfectly straight. Way faster.
Anybody can do it.
Anybody can do it.
I don't even know how this made.
Yeah, but I've been drawing straight lines freehand for 30 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
has nobody piped up about track saws?
I don't know. I got lost there for a minute.
This was in the track saw war.
Precision says Trex and Fortress both have been putting more marketing dollars into steel, and awareness is definitely on the rise. You betcha. Newcastle, I have done many pressure treated decking, hardwoods, and cedar over steel frame. Interesting. There you go. I mean, he's committed again to doing only steel framing, I think. It depends on how you sell it. I'm not saying you couldn't sell somebody a cedar deck on a steel frame. It is entirely possible that you could do that, but less likely than somebody who's already doing a higher end product, I think. And Quigley says, Bryce, I'm Irish. We take pleasure in our misery. What's he referring to? What is it? Did we say something?
We were talking about track saws because I was like, why wouldn't you?
Oh.
Does Quigley not have a track saw?
I guess maybe that comment is suggesting that he doesn't. And I thought we were friends.
Yeah.
I thought we were friends with Quigs.
Not anymore.
Jeez. Okay, that's it for me. Hit for you. You good?
Let's go.
Let's get out of here. And new podcast. We should probably have that up in a week or two. Maybe we'll get something up.
Yeah, we'll get something up.
Should be good.
Week or two.
We'll tell you more about that as details emerge. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the Ultimate Deck Podcast. Ultimate Deck Podcast. Brought to you by the Ultimate Deck Shop. Shop with us at www.ultimatedeckshop.com or check us out at all the social networks we can keep up with. Hit us up for any collaboration or sponsorship opportunities. Thanks for listening.